Brown Reading Series with Booker Prize winner Kieran Desai, reading from her new novel, The Loneliness of Sonia and Sonny, Monday, November 17th at the Alley Theater. More at inprint.org.
Perhaps 4% on Friday, rising to cuts of 10% by the beginning of next week. But either way, that means widespread disruption that is not only going to affect the individuals affected, but business across the country, people travelling from one coast to another for business meetings. Those businesses will clearly lose money. It'll affect tourism in this country, although we understand that international flights will be exempt from this.
Peter Bowes reporting. You're listening to the newsroom from the BBC World Service. The Trump administration is facing mounting questions over the legality of its airstrikes against alleged drug boats off South and Central America. More than 60 people have been killed in the last 2 months. But many Democrats say the strikes are illegal, while some Republicans also want answers, causing Secretary of State Marco Rubio to brief key lawmakers in Congress on Wednesday night. Meanwhile, a former chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, Luis Moreno Ocampo, has told the BBC the strikes would be treated under international law as crimes against humanity. The White House has rejected the claim. Here's our State Department correspondent, Tom Bateman.
The roar of the fighter jets on the Gerald Ford, the world's biggest aircraft carrier, will soon sound off Latin America. President Trump's military build-up in the waters off Venezuela continues after more than a dozen deadly airstrikes on small boats he says are carrying drugs. In the high seas, punishment is being delivered at the pull of a trigger. But the missile strikes are rattling the halls of Congress. They are illegal, say most Democrats, and even some Republicans are asking difficult questions. So Mr. Trump dispatched his top diplomat, Marco Rubio, to give a classified briefing to lawmakers last night. The White House has designated several cartels as terrorist groups, arguing trafficking lethal drugs constitutes an armed attack on the United States. And it says that makes the airstrikes legal.
I've been aware of this for some time.
James Risch, a Republican on the Senate Intelligence Committee, was in the briefing.
The president really ought to be congratulated for saving the lives of young American people. I encourage him to keep it up. Thank you.
Senator, how do you satisfy people about the legal basis for these strikes?
He didn't answer that, while the leading Democrat in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, left the briefing unconvinced.
What we heard isn't enough. We need a lot more answers, and I am now asking for an all-senators briefing on this issue.
After another classified meeting, this one by Pentagon officials last week, I caught up with one of those in the room, Sarah Jacobs, a Democrat congresswoman on the House Armed Services Committee.
There's nothing that we heard in there that changes my assessment that this is completely illegal, that it is unlawful, and even if Congress authorized it, it would still be illegal because they are extrajudicial killings where we have no evidence.
For Luis Moreno Campo, the strikes amount to an unprecedented expansion of presidential power. He was, for a decade, the first chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court.
I believe the obvious case for me is crimes against humanity. What court can do it is different matter.
But you're saying that you would treat this as crimes against humanity. What justifies that?
Crimes against humanity is a systematic attack against civilian population. Criminals are civilians.
The White House said in response to that the president had acted in line with the laws of armed conflict. They said to protect the US from cartels trying to bring poison to American shores. It called the International Court a biased, unserious entity with no jurisdiction over the US. Mr. Trump hasn't veered from his position that he will keep killing alleged smugglers.
I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead.
The seas off Venezuela now brim with American military might. A region is poised and a president is pushing the bounds of the law.
Tom Bateman reporting. Now, millions of people are casting their votes today in the first phase of local elections in the Indian state of Bihar. It's being seen as a key test for the governing party of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, which aims to retain power with its regional ally. Bihar is the country's poorest state, and our correspondent Davina Gupta joins us from its capital of Patna. Davina, first up, I guess, just outline what some of the key and main issues are in this election.
Well, the voting here first started at around 7 a.m. local time, and as you mentioned, there are millions of people casting their votes, it's 30 million, and there are 121 seats in the fray. So the context is important here because I just want to describe to our listeners what kind of voting mood is here, because these people are going to government schools or colleges in their area which are converted into a polling booth. There are typically security officials and volunteers, and then they'll be pressing a button on the electronic voting machine to register their vote. And I was at one such polling booth and saw women and elderly people walking there. Some were without slippers, and these were daily wagers who are missing crucial paid work hours to cast their vote. And that's because for them, their vote is the only currency that they feel can bring a change to their lives. I've traveled across the state and have seen heated political discussions from village courtyards to chai or tea shops in various neighborhoods. So this is an extremely politically conscious state. It's also one of the youngest states, so a lot of first-time voters were at the polling booth, and I was able to speak to some of them, and this is what they told me.
For me, my vote is very important in this election because I can choose the government I want, which will work for me.
We need employment in Bihar so that people don't have to migrate to other states and can stay with their families here.
I want better health facilities, like what they have at the private hospitals, at the public hospitals too.
Davina, there's also controversy about millions of names being removed from the electoral roll. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, in this particular election, there's been an allegation made by the opposition, the Congress party, which is also fighting elections with a regional party in an alliance. And they have alleged that just before the voting started, there was a voters list that's released. And in that voter list, some of the names were left out deliberately. The Congress alleges those names would have benefited them. Essentially, they were party loyalists for the Congress and its allies. While the Election Commission has denied this, the BJP has denied this. This is a crucial high-stakes election for the Hindu Nationalist Party, the BJP, because India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been doing road shows and rallies to garner support. Just last year, there were national elections in India, and the BJP failed to win an outright majority, and that has sort of jolted them into action in trying to win back some of these voters. So the allegations of the voter fraud came at the beginning of those elections, but as we have progressed, the issues have now come to basic education, development. This is a state where a lot of people go out of the state and migrate in search of work, and a lot of women are left behind. So women also play a crucial role in these elections because they turn out in higher numbers than the men. And both the parties, the Congress and the BJP, with their alliances, have been targeting this voter base with a lot of welfare schemes. So we'll have to see how this one plays out, Ankur. The final counting will be on the 14th of November, and we'll have to see if the BJP is able to make those inroads it's hoping for.
Okay, Davina, thank you so much. Reporting from the eastern state of Bihar, Davina Gupta, thank you for your time. As a founding member of the Russian feminist protest group Pussy Riot, Masha Alyakhina became known around the world after her arrest in 2012. The group had just performed a punk prayer in a Moscow cathedral, sporting brightly knitted balaclavas and fluorescent dresses. She spent 2 years in a penal colony because she criticized Vladimir Putin and the Orthodox Church's political alignment, and after her release, continued her activism. In May 2022, faced with a new prison sentence and under house arrest, she decided she had no choice but to escape Russia. Masha Alyakhina has now written a memoir called Political Girl, Life and Fate in Russia. She spoke to Emma Barnett about why she's now living in exile.
I'm on federal wanted list. I have the third criminal case and sentence which been opened last year, and a month ago I was sentenced to 13 years and 15 days of penal colony. So that means that if I'll appear on the border, I'll go straight there.
You were jailed in absentia
earlier
this year, and you've been in prison many times. in Russia. You've been locked up for what you have done, but you also managed to escape. Can you tell us about how you managed to do that?
I've heard the speech of Vladimir Putin with the declaration of full-scale war.
Against Ukraine?
Against Ukraine. I desperately didn't want to leave the country for freedom of what I'm fighting. At the same time, I do understand that this is the war. If you take a side inside the country, that means that you're imprisoned, in my case, forever. I was thinking when I got this sentence in absentia, I was thinking what it is to be in the country, actually. Because politically, I'm in the country. They opened this case and they gave me a sentence. Physically, I'm not there. And millions and millions of people are there, but they politically are not there.
Yes.
Because they cannot speak, because they physically will go to prison. So it's permanent, very brutal and dangerous self-censorship, which affects personality, affects society, and basically rotten the country. The state taught Soviet Union people that they are small, they are comparing to the state nobody. The protest of one person or of the group people will not lead to the change of the power. So it's something which is in the blood. At least 5 generations been taught this thing.
I'm just trying to get a sense from you if you've got any hope that the people will protest more, will rise up.
The thing is that to overcome Putin's regime is, for my opinion, this is a goal for people inside the country and outside. It's not possible to win him with flowers. It's people with weapons needed.
Now, before we go, let's bring you the Collins English Dictionary's word of the year. Drumroll, it's called vibe coding. Any takers? Well, it means using artificial intelligence to generate code for a website or app just by describing an ordinary spoken language. What is required? As our technology editor, Zoe Kleiman, has been trying to find out.
ChatGPT, code me an app showing the latest movie reviews with the option to vote on the best and worst current movies and comment on them.
Sure thing. I'll give you a little starting point in code form. Let's say we're doing this as a simple web app.
That is vibe coding.
And a bit of HTML, JavaScript for the front end. Here's a super simplified snippet to get you started.
It's not a faultless technique, and there's no guarantee the code will actually work or be free of bugs. But it allows people who can't code to start creating digital products, gives existing coders a head start, and it's extremely fast. My movie app code was created in seconds, although it would take me considerably longer to check it and fix any problems. The term vibe coding was coined by Andrei Karpathy, the former director of AI at Tesla. Other words on the Collins list this year include coolcation, which means a holiday somewhere cold, and broligarchy, a term for a group of very wealthy men with political influence.
Zoe Kleiman, our technology editor, with the Collins English Dictionary's word of the year. Thank you ever so much for listening to the newsroom from the BBC World Service with myself, Ankur Desai, and we'll be dropping a latest episode of the Global News Podcast a little later too. We'll speak to you very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Distribution of the BBC World Service in the United States is made possible by American Public Media, producer and distributor of award-winning public radio content, engaging audiences, creating meaningful experiences, and fostering conversations. APM, American Public Media. With support from Bitwarden Password Manager, Bitwarden is built to secure online shopping accounts during the holiday season or anytime. Learn more at bitwarden.com.
Every week on The Pulse, we hear stories at the heart of health, science, and innovation. Sometimes physicians make confessions.
We were dead wrong.
Nurses tell us what they dream about.
Beep, beep. Yes, you dream about it.
We explore how science is done.
When we're looking for the needle in the haystack, we want to look in the right haystack.
And we have frank discussions about ideas.
It's a joke.
The Pulse, Sundays at 2 p.m. on News 88.7.
Coming up on Business Daily on the BBC World Service. Say cheese, because we're looking into the resurgence of analogue photography. We go behind the scenes getting our photos developed to find out what's the price people around the world are willing to pay for a photo the old-fashioned way. And will this trend survive the digital age? That's with me, Sean Alsop, after the news.
BBC News with Charles Carroll. The Philippines has declared a state of emergency after Typhoon Galmegi swept through the central region, dumping a month's rainfall in just 24 hours. At least 114 people have been killed. It's one of the strongest typhoons so far this year. Millions of people are voting in key local elections in the Indian state of Bihar. It's one of India's poorest areas and among the few where Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP has not yet managed to form a government on its own. The United Nations says opium poppy production in Afghanistan has fallen significantly compared with last year. The substance, which is used to make heroin, was outlawed by the Taliban in 2022. Islamic Relief Worldwide is warning that Sudan's network of community kitchens is on the verge of collapse. The charity says the facilities, which feed millions of people, face closure as the civil war grinds on. Israel says human remains returned from Gaza on Wednesday have been identified as belonging to a Tanzanian student. Joshua Loitu-Malel was killed by Hamas in the October the 7th attacks and his body taken to Gaza. The South African government says it's received distress calls from 17 of its citizens who were lured into joining a mercenary force in Ukraine. Russia has been accused of tricking foreigners desperate for work into helping its invasion. Rescuers in South Korea are searching for 7 people who are feared trapped by the collapse of a large structure at a power plant in the city of Ulsan. 2 have already been rescued. And Britain's Prince William has revealed the 5 winners of this year's Earthshot Prize, an environmental award worth more than $1 million for each recipient. They include a project to improve air quality in Colombia's capital and a Nigerian initiative to reduce waste from the fashion industry. And that's the latest BBC News.
Do you remember this noise? This was one of my favourite sounds growing up. Flashes, winding up, and snaps. The traditional camera. As the digital world grew, that sound disappeared. Until recently, when I started hearing those sounds again, as people are now stopping to capture a moment the old-fashioned way. I thought it was just a niche nowadays, but actually, it's turning into a real moneymaker.
But it was sold out, always. No stop.
We're meeting the rising demand of these cameras. They've had a real comeback.
I'm Sean Alsop, and on this episode of Business Daily from the BBC World Service, I'm exploring if analogue photography is having a resurgence, who can benefit, and what's the price of taking a good picture. The camera, one of mankind's greatest inventions. The act of capturing an image has transformed how we see and interact with the world. First invented in 1826 in France and made commercially available by 1839, the camera has evolved over nearly 2 centuries. Today, there are 2 main types, analog and digital. Analog cameras use film rolls to capture images, offering a limited number of shots, while digital cameras store thousands of photos on memory cards. The rise of smartphones with built-in cameras led to a major shift in how we take and share photos, pushing traditional cameras out of the mainstream. Digital remains dominant, but analog, like many older formats, never completely disappeared. In fact, analog photography is experiencing a quiet comeback. So who are the people behind this revival? And is this return to film just a passing trend, or something more lasting? Hey there, is it Chris? Yes. I've come to the heart of street photography in Berlin, Germany. I'm visiting a camera shop called Safelight. It's a pink room with vintage cameras and film rolls. The shop sells analog cameras and accessories exclusively. It's run by Chris Morgan, who was raised in the United States, who started the business in 2019 and has seen it grown as orders are flying through the door.
Hey. Amazing. So this is from all over the country, like people sending us the film to develop. We slowly started as in like the flea markets and kind of in these little markets just with a stand, and then we realized after a few times of doing this that there's a huge demand, and we realized how big the analog scene was. We thought it was just in Berlin because it's a cool city, like in Germany, but we realized then across the whole country, basically, there's 1 million people shooting film that we didn't realize in small towns and villages. They all discovered their cameras from their grandpa or their parents.
And do you mind just giving me a tour, like some of the best sellers stuff here?
Okay, I mean, the biggest thing that we do sell for us is the film development itself. We're selling, I don't know, per week, 100, 200, 300 films. Then the biggest seller that we have is the cameras on the other side of the shop there. All these point and shoots. This is what all the kids want to shoot these days. They are super simple. You literally just turn them on and you can shoot. Yeah.
My eyes. My eyes. I will turn the flash off.
But yeah, it's like very mechanical sounding, and it's point and shoot. It has autofocus, it has flash, it also has a zoom. You can zoom in and out. And basically it was made for, your grandma to be able to shoot photos back in the 90s and 2000s. So now this is what most of the kids buy. It's tiny. It's maybe the size of a phone, basically, in the end. We have price ranges from, I think it starts around 60, 70 up till just on this shelf is around 300 euros. And then we have our fancy stuff that's back behind the counter. And the prices go up to about 1,500, 2,000 euros for one little small camera. It's crazy. It's a lot of, the internet is obviously the big factor.
Yeah.
Collectors, and now the hype, there's a bunch of celebrities shooting film. I think it's been talked about a lot, but there's like this Kendall Jenner. I think that...
Sophie Chalamet was...
Exactly. They're all shooting the really expensive camera, which we have the gold version here.
Oh, that's so expensive. It's behind the counter.
So this is the Contax T2, which is like the most hyped camera since the new wave of all this stuff happened. This is a gold version, and it jumped from, we were selling them around 400 euros, I think, when we started, and then it jumped to over 1,000. This is right now 1,800 because it's special edition gold and everything, but just from these celebrities using the cameras, like a few years ago, the price has doubled, tripled within a few weeks. And now they've kind of held steady. I don't know if it's a bubble or not, but we're kind of, I think at the top of the bubble. I don't know how much longer it's going to last, but it's already been 8 years, so let's see.
Chris's top price camera at 1,800 euros, or just over $2,000, might be out of most people's price range. But that's not stopping people wanting to get these cameras in their hands. The cognitive market research firm estimates the global market for filmmatography is almost $440 million in 2025, a rise from $360 million in 2021. However, purchasing a camera and film is one thing. The other element is paying to get them developed, as Chris takes me across the street to their development lab.
Hello. Well, we got the full team here today. I think we're 6 people, so it's pretty full. We're a little behind in our scheduling.
Around me is a busy room filled with people cutting film strips and placing them into machines to be scanned and developed. Honestly, it feels like I've stepped back in time.
So these big machines right here, these are the film developing machines. They're from a brand called Noritsu. They're from, I guess, the late 90s, early 2000s. Maybe even older, actually. This is what most labs start with. It's I don't know, costs around 15,000, I think, right now. Yeah. For one of these scanners. So yeah, Mick here is doing usually, we have one person handling 3 scanners is our goal. So he can set up one scanner. These 2 scanners are scanning. He's setting up the 3rd. By the time he's done, usually he comes back, and here would be then ready to put the next film in. So that's how we can keep up and try to get to close to around 200 or 250 films scanned a day. On average, it's about 5 minutes per film.
Standing here surrounded by machinery that's older than myself is pretty cool, but it's also a reminder of why costs are quite high. There isn't much of this equipment left in circulation, and what does exist struggles to keep up with demand.
That's the scanner doing the pre-scan. It's quickly going through all of the photos. It's going to now be pulled up on the screen, and then Mick here, he's going to go through and edit them slightly. We've already set up all the scanners to our liking, but you can change everything from the colors to the density. And yeah, he goes through very quickly, as you see. Within about a minute or 30 seconds, he's gone through quickly. Our average is about 200 to 250 a day. Last year, we were around 55,000 was the amount of films that we had to develop. And yeah, here in Berlin, it's a very, very photography-friendly city. There's about 10 labs I know of, I think, in the city, between 5 and 10 labs, and they're all, I think, have at least 50 rolls a day that they're developing. So, yeah, I don't know if it's just us, but I think it's a trend in the whole world that people are shooting film.
The average cost to develop a roll of film is now $10, roughly tripled what it was 15 years ago, outpacing inflation at $4 in 2005. While seeing how the renewed interest in analog photography has benefited independent businesses like Chris's in Berlin, I wanted to know how it's affecting the bigger players in the photography market.
Hi, I'm Yuji Igarashi, General Manager of Professional Imaging Group of Imaging Solutions Division, Fujifilm Corporation.
Fujifilm in Japan has been developing cameras for almost a century and is one of the world's leading suppliers. They slowed down on producing analog products, but recently boosted its manufacturing in this area, like with their disposable single-use cameras, quick snap, Instax analog camera, and photography film. As Yuji recalls, the company has had a front row seat as consumers switched from analog to digital cameras.
Even before the demand of photographic film began to decline, we were anticipating the digitalization in photography. In the 2000s, we faced the threat of losing its core imaging business. With the rapid digitalization, demand for photographic film, which had been the company's main business, peaked in 2000 and began to decline, falling to less than 1/10 of its peak level by 2010. With smartphones, taking photos has become more accessible than ever. Anyone can capture an image instantly. But what we're seeing now is that more people want something beyond that. The resurgence of film and quick snaps or single-use film camera is what we did not foresee, especially among a young audience.
So what's been your reaction to a newer audience being attracted to this type of photography?
Many young users are becoming interested in photography as a hobby. This is great news for us, since this means there are more people interested in photography. We're thrilled to see young generation embracing the way we used to experience photography in the past. The younger generation intentionally choose to slow down, which I believe is some kind of counter-movement to the ever-accelerating digital society. We're meeting the rising demand by making sure more people can get their hands on these fun, easy-to-use cameras. They've had a real comeback. With the rising popularity of Instax cameras, demand for Instax film has been increasing globally for a while now, and this trend shows no sign of slowing down. To keep up, Fujifilm is actively expanding its production facilities, with the latest expansion set to boost film production capacity by 20% by the end of fiscal year 2025. The key to keeping this market growing is to continue to look forward into the future, plan ahead, and continue to invest in relevant technologies as a photographic company.
You're listening to Business Daily from the BBC World Service. I wanted to find out for myself why people are engaging in analog cameras. So, still in Berlin, I joined a popular workshop called Photo Studios, and it's run by its owner, Emilio, from Italy.
I guess you know how to put a roll inside, no?
Yeah, I think so. It's been a while.
I'm Emiliano Vittoriosi, and we are at Berlin Photo Studio. The last year I started this workshop. Yeah. Then you pull a bit here.
Yeah, and then close it.
Yeah. And then in the beginning I started to do that and was sold out every Monday. I was doing in the Monday evening. Suppose that no one was coming in the Monday evening because, I mean, people work the day after. But it was sold out always, no stop. So then we started to do like also twice or 3 times a week. It's really easy, the concept. We give to them the cameras, we give to them the rolls, and then we go out, we shoot the pictures together, and then we come back and we develop the pictures. Rolling.
Cool. Yeah.
Just close. We do another roll, and it's good to go.
I'm joining the analog workshop with about 10 other people as we explore the city, taking photos. It's a chance for me to find out what's the appeal to all this.
Like we can stay together, or you can just split and then maybe meet here in 1 hour.
Yeah. What do you enjoy about this? What we're doing?
I think like the result is unexpected, and and just like walking around, and like the sense of community is really nice, like doing this together.
In fact, this is something that I used to do when I was very young. Yeah, I would like to come back to it. That's why I'm doing this course, to basically figure out the techniques, thinking more on the present.
And also, look, I just saw Vespa. You got to apologize. I got to take a photo of this bad one. I will snap.
Are you on focus?
Yes, we will find out.
Yeah, let's see. So now we're going to the dark room. First, we need to go downstairs, take these stairs.
It's a cellar. It's quite steep.
Downstairs with everyone in the dark room, we're developing our photos the retro way. And just like you'd seen in the films and TV, the room glows under red light to keep the film reels safe. And then comes the next step, with Emilio cutting our film roll. And a first for me, recording in pitch black.
Important, I have to say, we're in the dark, don't turn any lights. So don't take your phone. If you have a watch or a Apple Watch, turn on. Okay? Because light sensitive, so we will burn the film. What we do is like taking the roll out. I mean, until now it's over 2,000 rolls without seeing anything. I think it's enough.
Wait, can I just double check this? So you're working just with, you know what you're doing just by sound alone in this darkness?
No.
I cannot believe it.
Yeah. Okay. So
Perfect. Okay. So
lights are on.
While this entire workshop experience has been fun, it certainly isn't as cheap as it used to be, as Emilio explains.
I'm from the 90s, so I mean, I have seen a bit like the evolution of and the construction and the construction of the things. So the rolls, a film roll back 12, 13, 14 years ago, it was costing to me 80 cents. Nowadays, it costs 9.45, 10, 12. I mean, they're different buys. I've seen people also sell for 20, but still, like, it's a lot of money. A fair price for me is like a roll plus develop, and plus scan. If can stay under the $20, is nice.
The prices of film continues to rise for several reasons. Many factories have closed down. New environmentally friendly chemicals, which require more advanced and costly production methods, are being developed for processing. And production has slowed, unable to keep up with the growing demand. But for camera shop owner Chris Morgan and workshop leader Emilio, it's about more than just a kit you're using.
It's kind of this, like, everything is pushing you towards, digitalization. Everything is so fast and so this instant gratification. And I think that this, you have to wait for your photos, you have to take time, you have to compose, you have to do all this stuff, and you have to think about the money aspect. This is really the thing that people really like. There's not this instant gratification, and I don't know, this has something there. There's something tangible about taking the photos on film.
As a feeling, when you touch something, it's completely different. And you know that, I mean, when you shoot the picture, you just shoot the picture. You are not there watching, rewatching, and deleting or else. It's just you're shooting the picture. I mean, photography is really everything. It's really everything. It's collecting every part of the life, no? It's something like that you can bring everywhere with you. And I think, like, when you have a camera, you're never bored. Basically, you can be everywhere.
Whether or not analog photography keeps selling, for me, the act of taking these photos felt like stepping back in time. Knowing that every shot came at a cost made me more present, choosing moments that truly stood out with my friends or a beautiful scene. It made me focus on what's in front of me. From the greens of summers to those nice bright colours, you really learn to see a sunny day with a camera in your hands. This has been Business Daily from the BBC World Service. Produced and presented by me, Sean Alsop.
BBC World Service. And now, Witness History with me, Jill Kersley.
I'm taking you back to 1971, when a well-known piece of American history, typed out on a university computer, played a vital role in the digital revolution of electronic books. It was to become known as Project Gutenberg.
I have a wild imagination. They call me a visionary, and I certainly have visions. And I have to tell you, in less than a second, I had the idea of the whole internet and laptop computers and being able to carry the Library of Congress with you in one hand. And I said these things to people, and the people that were there, and they just said, yeah, right. I mean, they knew I was crazy already, so none of them thought it was going to work.
That's Michael Hart, the man widely known as the father of ebooks, speaking to the BBC in 2010, the year before he died.
Michael was extremely gregarious, extremely high energy.
And this is Greg Newby, who was the CEO and director of Project Gutenberg, and Michael's best friend.
A very, very outgoing and very, very devoted to helping to spread the story of why electronic books are going to be the future. The story of how Michael Hart invented ebooks is a really cool story. You can think back to 1971, the 4th of July, Independence Day in the United States. Michael Hart, he was a college-age student himself, and he was given that week access to one of the mainframe computers that the University of Illinois operated for the computer network of the day, something called ARPANET. He said, wow, I have potentially millions of dollars of computing power at my fingertips. What am I going to do with that? I'm not going to be maybe a computer programmer, but can I do something else that's impactful, that will really benefit the world with this gift of computing power that he was given access to?
American Independence Day marks the time in 1776 when the United States declared its independence from Great Britain. It's a national holiday where people celebrate. So on that day in 1971, Michael went out for a bike ride.
And went to the local Quickie Mart to get some snacks. And in the bag of snacks, they included a facsimile copy of the United States Declaration of Independence.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth...
This triggered something in Michael. He had been trying to think of what he would do with all this computing power, and he realized that what he could do that would be more impactful than being a computer programmer would be to actually create literature and have it available for unlimited redistribution. He took that Quickie Mart facsimile and spent most of the night sitting at a terminal on the computer in the computer center on the campus of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and he typed the thing in.
In support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
And then he also emailed the Declaration of Independence to everyone he could find on that computer network. So it went out maybe to 100 people. So he emailed it to the people of the day, realizing that he had done something great, realizing that he had done something with computers and literature that had never been done before, and that is to create electronic books for reading enjoyment, not just for like counting words or some sort of computer exercise, but for reading enjoyment. This was the invention of the electronic book.
Over the next 2 decades, Michael worked on about 100 more titles to transform them into ebooks. He named it Project Gutenberg, after Johann Gutenberg, the inventor of the printing press in the 15th century. Whilst just as that visionary made books accessible to the public, Michael aimed to make literature freely available to everyone online.
I think that Johann Gutenberg, even though they said that he was the man of the millennium on the cover of Time magazine and who knows what else, I think he got shortchanged. I don't think he got near the credit that he deserved, because he created mass production and he created literacy, and we're doing the same thing with ebooks.
So whilst Michael was busy typing in all those words of all those books for Project Gutenberg, Greg didn't know of Michael yet, but was discovering the huge effort he was going to get books to people digitally.
And so I obtained by email back in about 1986 or possibly 1987 an emailed copy of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And I got it right away. Right away I said, holy cow, this is what computers are good for. They're not just good for computing and census taking and the historic things that computers were used for, but they're also going to be useful for literature, for sharing stories, for sharing cultural artifacts. And so I heard of it, but I didn't know who Michael Hart was, didn't know what Project Gutenberg was.
Then Greg got a job at the University of Illinois.
With my first faculty position, there was a lot of excitement. I was involved in teaching informational literacy, involved in helping people to get on the internet. And that was 1991, so those were pretty early days. I was working to bring internet to the people. So I had heard about some wacky guy or some person that had been typing in books. I picked up a local newspaper, and there was Michael on the front of Section B talking about electronic books, talking about giving away free literature. So I called him up, and we got together. It turned out we both loved playing Frisbee. It turned out we both were literary. It turned out we both were very interested in getting materials out on the internet.
The two became best friends.
I also had to become involved with the project, and I stuck with it. I became a volunteer, and then by the time it became time to form a more formal organization in around the year 2000, he tapped me to be the first director and chief executive. One of the big challenges that Michael faced, and I also faced, was skeptics. There were people that thought that not only should electronic books not exist, but that they were actually dangerous, that electronic books were things that should not exist because they gave too much power to people to read and to analyze and to redistribute. So there were a lot of examples of where Michael would go and try to sell up the idea of electronic books and get people involved. And he ran into some real opposition.
Michael was always convinced his idea was going to be a huge success, though.
I think it's going to cause a neo-industrial revolution. I mean, we got 5 billion cell phones out there that can do text and stuff like that. And that makes a much bigger audience than you can have with just computers. And I think that people in the middle of nowhere, I mean, I've got text messages from the Serengeti plain from a guy who just read one of our books in Urdu. I just went, wow, this is the most amazing, it just blew my mind away. And it just changed my concept. We got to do this stuff in more languages for more people. Got to give it to everybody.
After Michael's death, Greg was determined to carry on growing the project.
We've gone from around 10,000 books when Michael died to about 70,000 books. And that's a pretty decent collection. That's pretty well any literature that you might care to think of is now available. And that includes multiple languages, multiple dialects. Michael and I had a great time operating Project Gutenberg.
Today, Project Gutenberg continues as a vast online library of free electronic books. It's still run by volunteers, and it's inspired other free ebook platforms around the world. Greg Newby was talking to me, Jill Kersley, for Witness History. Greg died shortly after giving this interview.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
If you feel like people on the other side of the political divide are on Mars, Left, Right, and Center helps you understand where they're coming from. We invite people from the left and the right to our show each week, and we unpack our political differences, not to smooth them over, but to bring clarity to what's really at stake. I'm David Green, and I'm excited to bring Left, Right, and Center to Houston. Join me Sundays at 5 p.m. on News 88.7 and online at houstonpublicmedia.org.